right. Well, again, hello and welcome everyone. We do this program called Speak Out Nebraska at the beginning of legislative session, halfway through legislative session, and then at the end to recap. This is a time where we will be talking about the bills that Out Nebraska is following that impact the LGBTQ community, and talk about ways that you can get involved, and how you can help us advocate for LGBTQ Nebraskans. So yeah, thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday, joining us with some lunch. Appreciate that. For folks who are hopping on throughout, just a reminder, this meeting is recorded. We are not here to debate LGBTQ lives. We are here to be an educational program. Thank you. So before we even jump into anything, yes, thank you, Abby, for pointing out. We will have time for questions at the end. So either hold them or put them in the chat and we'll try to circle back to them. As we're starting here, we're going to talk about some bills. And we want to emphasize right here, you can take action right now. Now is the time to contact your senators. They need to hear from us. There will not be a better time for you to wait for. Right now is the perfect time. It's also especially important to really contact our senators, flood them with our support for the LGBT community right now, especially in response to the bad bills that we're going to talk about. They really need to hear from queer and trans people and our allies. So what we would ask you, challenge you to do while we're talking about these bills, make a note of one that you want to call your senator about right after this. And Johnny will post a link in the chat for you to use to find your senator. If you don't have their phone number saved in your phone, you can find who your senator is, what their email and phone number is through this link. And just some general background. We're talking about the legislature, we're talking about bills. How does a bill go from an idea to a piece of paper to law? So basically how it works in Nebraska is senators have a couple days to introduce bills, introduce their ideas. And from there, every bill then will get to be heard in a committee. And a committee is a group of senators who then decide if it goes past the small group to the whole big group of senators. It can either advance, it can be held in committee forever, or it can be voted no in committee. If it leaves committee, then it goes on to something called general file. General file is a time when the whole legislature, all 49 senators, gets to hear and debate it. And then from there, it can advance, it can get amended in advance, or it can fail. If it does advance, it goes on to the second round of debate called select file. There's again more discussion, either advances, it's amended and then advanced, or it fails there. And then goes on to our third and final round of debate called final reading. And here, no more time for amendments. It is this good as is, let's go, or it fails here. And once it passes these 3 rounds of debates, it goes to the governor, who can either sign it or decline to sign it, and it will pass. Or the governor can choose to veto, to say, no, don't like this idea. If a governor vetoes it, it goes back to the legislature, to those senators here in Nebraska who discuss it again, and then they vote to either override the veto, or it is sustained if they don't have enough votes to override that veto. But yeah, and then at the end we have a law. So this is kind of the general format of where things are right now. Where we are in session, we are done with bill introduction. Senators only have 10 days to introduce bills, so we are through that period. We are starting our committee time. So a lot of bills are going to start going to those small groups of senators. And what's so awesome about committee hearing time is that's when we all get to go to the Nebraska Capitol, if we're able, and we get to speak our minds. We get to tell our senators and that small group of senators in the committee what we feel, what we think, how different bills will affect us. So that's the exciting time we're in right now. Okay, our kind of format today, we're going to talk about quickly the bills that we're looking at that we support, the bills that Out Nebraska opposes, and then we're going to talk about how you can get involved and what you can do. And as a reminder, as we're talking about this, make a note of one bill that you feel really strongly about so you can contact your senator after this call. So let's get into these support bills. So we've got a number of bills with that have to do with non-discrimination. First up is LB 169, which was introduced by Senator Hunt, and it would add sexual orientation and gender identity into employment protections for the state of Nebraska. Similarly, we have kind of a companion bill, LB 670, which functionally, what it does is it would prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, and prohibit discrimination by employers of a certain, or regardless of size. Right now, there's like a kind of interesting bit of legal loophole that there's a very small employment discrimination loophole in our laws that allows for small businesses under 15 employees to have certain exceptions. And this would just require that small businesses follow non-discrimination law. Our next non-discrimination bill is LB 487, also introduced by Senator Hunt. This would prohibit any school in Nebraska that receives public funds. So that's taxpayer money, right? Any school that gets taxpayer money has to follow a non-discrimination clause. And this non-discrimination clause protects on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, citizen status, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, or special education status. So the whole, as broad as possible to cover as many of our students in need from discrimination. And then we are supporting LB 630, introduced by Senator McKinney. It is not explicitly LGBT. It is a bill that we are supporting from the lens of racial equity. What this does is it would have the State Board of Education implement a policy that then local schools can use that would allow students to wear natural hairstyles, protective hairstyles, wear religious attire like hijabs or headscarves, tribal regalia, and also allow them to wear different sorts of traditional clothing that come from other countries or other cultures. Then we have a few bills that have to do with general LGBTQ well-being. And so the first one is we are supporting LB 179. This was introduced by Senator Frederickson and Senator Hunt. What this would do is it would prohibit the practice of conversion therapy on minors. Conversion therapy, if you're unfamiliar with that term, that is the practice of trying to forcibly change someone's sexual orientation of gender identity. Typically, it is used to try to change someone who is gay, bisexual, or transgender to being straight and cisgender or not transgender. What we know and medical experts know and behavioral health and mental health experts know is it doesn't work. So this would protect young people from this harmful practice in the state of Nebraska. Lincoln has passed one of these bans before. If you would like to read more about that, you can look into that. The other well-being bill that we are supporting is LB 307, which you can think broadly as it presents new opportunities for public health programs. This provides opportunities for each Nebraska community to be able to authorize something called a syringe service program in order to help battle the rise of HIV and hepatitis infections in the state of Nebraska. This is really from our friends at the Nebraska AIDS Project, so please follow along with them as they are super great, super smart experts in this area. But what a service program does is these are like community-based prevention programs that provide a large range of services, which can include like connection to substance use disorder treatment, access to and disposal of sterile syringes and injection equipment, connection to vaccination and testing, and other connections to care that people need in order to treat infectious diseases. So this would add another tool in the tool belt of local health departments to take care of Nebraskans. Our next set of support bills have to do with families and marriage. So first up is LB 316, which would update language relating to spouses on marriage license applications to be gender neutral. What it tangibly does is it changes an application that would say, and I have to try and remember what it said on mine. You know, it says bride and bridegroom, I believe. It would say spouse and spouse. And this is just for the application, just make it gender neutral and save on some ink. The next up is a legislative resolution, LR 26CA. That CA means it's a constitutional amendment. A resolution is like something that like the legislature passes, but there needs to be further action on. So this one would be a constitutional amendment that would propose changing the Nebraska Constitution to remove the now defunct same-sex marriage ban that we have lingering in our state constitution. If the legislature passes this one, it would then go to voters across Nebraska to approve the change. And it was introduced by Senator Day as the primary introducer, but had several co-signers. And then I think this is our last family bill. We are supporting LB 89, which would, what it functionally does is it would allow for surrogate parenthood in Nebraska. What it does technically as a bill is it repeals a section of Nebraska law that prevents surrogacy. And then what this looks like in practice is it would help families who aren't able to become pregnant on their own. So this would include couples struggling with infertility, as well as gay couples have and start families. And I will pass it off to Abby, who will talk more about the bills we are opposing this session.
That's my cue to remove my mute. Thank you, Erin. So most of you are aware that we've had a slew of anti-trans bills introduced. So we'll start by talking about those. LB 371 criminalizes drag shows and is written in such a broad way that it would also impact transgender performers. It would make it a crime for people under 19 to be present at drag performances. And it is written in such a broad way as to say that could be anything. It could include a transgender person singing karaoke with a group of their friends. It does carry criminal penalties, and it would affect show choir and, you know, a whole slew of things that I don't think it intends to, or maybe it does intend to. But it is actually a direct attack also on our Drag Story Hour program. And so we're working very hard to defeat LB 371. Next slide. LB 574, introduced by Senator Kauth, which is a ban on affirming care for transgender youth. This would block the families of transgender youth from seeking medically sound affirming healthcare by punishing doctors who provide the care. And it is also written in a very broad way to say that doctors could also not refer for gender affirming care. So would keep doctors from even referring to out-of-state providers should the bill pass. This is a really dangerous bill because it has a lot of co-sponsors and because it directly impacts the lives of trans youth. And we know that trans youth are so much at risk, and that if they are affirmed, that risk goes down. So we really want to defeat this. We are looking for families to testify. We are organizing medical and mental health professionals as well. And we'll talk more about getting involved at the end of the slideshow. Next slide. LB 575 is a bill also introduced by Senator Kauth, also with very many co-sponsors, that would ban transgender youth from playing school sports or using facilities that align with their gender identity. It would require young people only play on teams that align with their sex assigned at birth, only use bathrooms and locker rooms that align with their sex assigned at birth. And this is just really an unfair bill that seeks to limit young people, kids, from playing with their friends. Trans young people want to play sports for all the same reasons: to challenge themselves, to be healthy, to be involved with their friends in activities. And this is really seeking to remove trans people from public life. And that is, we feel, a dangerous bill. Next slide. So we have a couple of license to discriminate bills in our opposition as well. The first of these is LB 277, the First Freedom Act. This is introduced by Senator Brewer. There's a part of the bill that we like that talks about students wearing tribal regalia. However, the bulk of the bill is really language that would allow religious organizations and individuals to circumvent non-discrimination laws. It is written super broad in that any person could claim that their religious beliefs disallow them from honoring a non-discrimination law. And so sometimes these bills are called RFRA laws, Religious Freedom Act laws. And the original one was a federal law, which is good, but these seek to broaden that definition so that it really could just be used by anyone to discriminate against LGBTQ people, people of minority faiths. It's just really bad. And unfortunately, that's got something small tacked on the end of it that we like, but we're also just going to oppose the bill because of the bulk of what it does. Next slide. LB 810, the Medical Ethics and Diversity Act, is a bill that is coming back again, much like Senator Brewer's bill is coming back, having been introduced last year and held over in committee. This bill would allow any medical or mental health professional to refuse to treat any patient for any ethical, moral, or religious reason. It very broadly defines who healthcare professionals are, which includes medical payers like employers and insurance. It's again written in such a way that it really is dangerous. It would allow practitioners to say, not provide blood transfusions because they don't believe in mixing races, not provide HIV drugs because they don't believe in, lifestyle choices, which just gives me the creeps even saying that. They could, not treat cancer for a variety of reasons. So this is a very dangerous bill, and so we're looking for comment on this and for folks to contact their senators on LB 810. Next bill. Curriculum censorship. As you may know, there's been a whole host of activity in the realm of parental rights, but it's really an opportunity for people to censor teachers and teaching. So let's look at these bills. LB 374, the Parents' Bill of Rights and Academic Transparency Act, which just sounds so pleasant, but it really facilitates book banning. It is an unnecessary overreach into teaching. It attempts to recreate policies that are already in place, such as policies that already allow parents to withdraw their students from any topic. But it also requires schools to create this huge parental portal whereby every learning material for a class must be posted for parents to explore and cause blockages. It puts a chilling effect on libraries purchasing new materials. It could impact LGBTQ topics or sex ed topics. It's really broad. Again, all of these are really broadly written in ways that impact our community. Could impact things like CRT or so-called CRT. So that's another reason we're really looking at that one. Sorry, Erin. I kept talking. Next slide. Something we are calling all hands on deck for is the abortion ban. So let's give that bill number. That is 626. It bans abortions at 6 weeks. We're recommending that you follow ACL of Nebraska, IB Black Girl, Nebraska Abortion Resources, or Planned Parenthood, or Women's Fund of Omaha for more information. But we feel like this is really important to the bodily autonomy of LGBTQ people and trans people. And so because bodily autonomy is so tied up with all of our basic rights, we felt like this was important for us to weigh in on. So we will be doing that, but there's a great coalition already working on that. But again, this is all hands on deck. Next slide. So how can we take action? Those are all of our bills, which are pretty equally split. And again, they're all listed on our website. Johnny had posted that link, I believe, but I'll let Erin start over with how to take action.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about kind of how can you get involved? How can you take action with us? One easy step is to make sure that you're following along with Out Nebraska, sign up for our alerts. You can sign up with us from a page that Johnny has, I believe, posted in here, but our support Out Nebraska sign up form. Sign up to be an advocate with us. We will make sure that you get alerts about bills as they come up when we need those all hands on deck. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where we will also be posting about these bills in more detail, and we'll be letting people know when hearings have been announced. And for every bill, we will have at least a week advance notice for a hearing. You can also sign up to testify with us. So we're both gathering folks you can testify. So that's when you speak at a hearing, which are those like little committee rooms where you speak in front of the small panel of senators. We're organizing testimony from folks on especially those anti-transgender bills. That was the anti-drag bill, LB 371, the gender affirming and medically sound care ban for youth, that is LB 574, and that was also the sports ban bill, LB 575. We are intentionally gathering people who have experiences in these areas. So if you are a parent, if you are a young person, if you were a young person who received gender affirming care when you were younger, if you participated on a sports team, if you are a cisgender person who plays sports and you want your trans athlete, fellow athletes to be with you, your teammates to still be on your teams, we need you as well. But if you would like to testify in any of these bills, you can click that link and select which one you would like to help us speak out about. If you are worried about speaking in a public hearing, but you really want to do something, you're just worried about yourself or your family or whatever the reason, we also really need people to speak with their Senators 101. So you can still use this link. There's a spot on that sign up form where you can just let us know that you really just want help, getting in contact with your senator to request that one-on-one meeting, and we are more than happy to help make that happen. I want to quickly address, someone has put in there, is it wheelchair accessible to testify with the renovations? Yeah, accessible in that technically, I believe you can get in the building. How easy is it? I don't feel that I know that very well. We'll get a better idea of how accessible it is. Probably this week or next week, we'll actually be able to go and see how far the renovations got, but thank you, good question. Speaking of testifying on other bills, if there was another bill that you're like, I don't maybe know how to speak out about, trans youth, but I really care about non-discrimination protections for employees, and you want to be a part of testifying, you want to get connected with us more, you can reach out to us through our contact form and just say, hey, I want to help. I can come down. Keep me in the loop. And we will make sure that you are kept in the loop there. And thank you. Johnny has posted something in the chat about the accessibility options at the Capitol. Though they have noted, and we know that sometimes what it says isn't how it feels like in person. Another action we're looking at here, again, now is the time to contact your senators. Our senators really need to hear from us. They need to know how these bills will help or harm us, how they affect our lives, our families, our willingness to stay in the state. If you've never contacted your senator before, or you just want a refresher, here's our super quick format. You say, hello, my name is Aaron. I live in your district. This bill would help. This bill would harm, me and my family. And then you can go more in detail, say like, this is why I really want you to listen. This is why you should care. This is specifically how this affects me, my family. And then you say, thank you so much for your time. And then you can hang up the phone, or you can send your email and you're done. Like we said before, that now's the time. There's not going to be a better time to wait to contact them, so doing it now is great. There's also no wrong way to contact your senators. There's a lot of different ways that you can talk to them, and we are all for all the methods. So you can write an email, you can make a phone call, you can ask for that one-on-one meeting. You can speak out at a hearing. You can send a physical letter. If you are someone who loves letters, some of our senators also love physical mail and do not like their email. So maybe that's a way to talk to them. You can also, a lot of them have Facebook pages. It's okay to leave Facebook comments, connect with them through those avenues that they've made public. You can also talk to them out in the wild. If you see your senator around, or your senator goes to your church, or a senator, one of the senators goes, to a community event that you go to, or are part of a something that you're also a member of, talk to them. They're also people, but it's good to talk to them in every way we can. If you see them at the grocery store, stop them and say, hey, Senator, blah, blah, blah. Appreciate the work you do. I saw a bill that really has me concerned, blah, blah, blah. All of these are great ways. We also wanted to talk real quick about Sorry, my words. Sometimes when we do these, my words get ahead of me. There's another way to make your voice heard this year, which is by leaving an online comment on a bill. Now, these comments aren't the same as giving testimony. So what that means is your comments, what you say in this online form, won't be put on the record as, Joe Smith from Platt Smith said this in the hearing and testified. But it will say someone testified in opposition, and will count you as part of the opposition, or will count you as part of the support of a bill. And then your comments are also available to all the senators and their staffs throughout the session. So not just during the hearing, but then afterwards as it moves on to debate. The things to know about this is there is a 500-word limit. If you're not sure what this means, it means it's about 1 page single spaced, which is honestly about the same length of what you would bring if you are testifying. It's just 1 little page. And then you can leave those comments up until noon the business day before a hearing. So for example, we know that LB 374, which is that curriculum censorship bill, has a hearing next Tuesday. The last day that you can leave comment on that online would be next Monday, which is January 30th at noon. So the day before at noon, that's the cutoff time to leave these online comments. You also want to make sure that it will ask for an email. I know it's tempting sometimes to use a fake email. We would ask that you don't, because you have to use a real email that you get an email to, that you can click a link to verify that you submitted a comment. So if you want your comment to be counted, please make sure you use an email that you have access to and is real. Now, what does this kind of look like? So on the Nebraska legislature website, you can look up a bill, and every page there'll be like a little search bar in the corner. So we kind of went to a bill page. This was that 374 that we know there's a bill coming up. On this page, there is this big button that says submit comments online for LB 374. And when you click it, this is what it looks like. It will bring you up to this form submission page, which first asks you to approve and understand that, this is what this website is for. This is what this form does. You need to make sure you verify your comments, and just letting you know that like what you write here, though it won't be in the record, it can be made available to people by request. And the people who have access to it would be the senators and their staff. So they also added this year that talks about if you include profanity in your comment, they might remove it. So just take that with a grain of salt when you are writing your messages. I am always for speak your heart, but just be aware that they've made this a policy this year. So you click understand, and then this is what it looks like. It will have you, type in if you want to be included in the hearing record, which we recommend yes. It will not include your written comments, but this means that you are counted. Always click yes. Then put your first name, last name, where you live, that email address that is real, and then what district you live in. If you don't know your district, they have a nice little find your district button that will automatically find your district. Who you're representing. This other is only if you're representing like a business or an organization. So for most people, you're just selecting self, and then your stance. Proponent means support, opponent, oppose, and then neutral would be like, I don't lean either way. And then at the very bottom, I cut this off just for room, but there's a big text box that says you have, a 500-word limit. I always like to type my comment in like a Word document before and then copy it in, so you catch those spelling errors, but do what feels best for you. And then at the very bottom will be a I'm not a robot checklist, and then you hit submit. The cool thing that they added this year about this written comment too is it will tell you when the hearing is at the top of this page and when that deadline is to make sure that this comment page has been submitted. So that's kind of what this looks like, so you're familiar. So that's many words. We said many things. Just to wrap up again, we really would challenge you after this call to say, hey, you know, that bill you talked about, I really just want to call my senator about that. You know, I want to send them a quick email that says, I like this or I don't like this. Let's do that real quick after we're done here today. But we'll have some time for questions. And again, reminder, you can follow us along on social media. We are Out Nebraska, OUT Nebraska, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also check out our website at outnebraska.org. So yeah, we want to have time for questions. I know we have a couple in the chat. If you would like to ask a question, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can see my face. If you would like to ask a question using your microphone, we ask you use the raise hand function on Zoom. If you're not sure how that works, please type it in the chat. And then if you don't want to use your mic, go ahead and use the chat function to type in questions. And I'm just going to ramble one more thing. That is just as a reminder, this is being recorded. When you come off mute, your image will appear either as your face or whatever your profile picture says. So I will kind of start zooming back up to see what sort of questions we've got in here. And we will try to get to as many questions as we can. I'm gonna start from the top and see if we missed anything along the way. Don't mind the awkward silence as I am reading the chat. Thank you all for commenting along. I know that someone asked if the sports ban would apply to K through 12 and college or just K through 12. It is just K through 12, I believe. Abby can fact check me on that, but I believe it is just K through 12 schools. Someone else also asked about the broadness of LB 371, which is that anti-drag bill. Asked about, would that then prohibit transgender people from participating in, you know, public plays or public theater? Yes, if there is a young person under 19 in the audience, that immediately becomes a drag performance, and it is illegal.
We have a question from someone who says that their senator is very unsupportive. Their senator is Senator Merman, and wanting to know if there's any point in contacting them. And my answer to that would be yes. Please do contact them. Their staff are counting comments, and we don't want the opposition to be the only voices that they hear and the only things that get counted. So please do. And we've actually gotten some intel from our supportive senators that the opposition isn't limiting themselves to only contacting their own senator. So we shouldn't do that either. If you want to blast every senator, go for it, because the opposition is doing that, and we really need our voices to be heard on these especially the very bad bills. So
I will say also personally, my personal senator also isn't super supportive of LGBT issues. And I always still contact her about things, even though I think I know where she stands. What has also been very interesting is Senator Kauth, who represents Millard and Omaha, the Millard area, has said that the reason why she introduced these bills that that would harm transgender youth is because she heard from her constituents that this is what they wanted. Now, I don't know how accurate that statement is, but it would be very meaningful for her to hear from people who live in her district who do not want these bills that harm transgender youth. So just something to think about. Scanning through our questions section. Thank you all for asking such good questions and being very engaged. Someone just wanted to make sure people know that the abortion ban, that is LB 626, it will have a hearing on February 1st at 1:30 p.m. Follow along to us or any of our friends who do abortion rights activism for more information of how you can get involved there. I know that calling your senator is always the right thing. Okay, we had some questions about how accessible the building is. I know it is very frustrating, and we'll get a better idea soon, and hopefully it's better than before. Let's see. Someone asked about allowing comments online, which we talked about.
Someone asked about sharing their story anonymously, and whether they contacted our organizations, that whether we would be able to share their story with the appropriate senator. We could do that if we know what district that you're from. I know that it is really scary to contact a senator, specifically if you live in a rural area of our state where senators kind of know everybody. If it is at all possible for you to share your identity with the senator, that is best practice. But if it's really not safe for you to do that, you can let us know who your senator is, and we can look at passing that story along to their staff, with the understanding that someone in their district feels so unsafe that they can't share who they are, but that this is a real story and that we verified the story. So that's something that we can possibly do. So just wanted to pass that along.
Someone asked if using that online comment area about, hey, if really I'm then at the end going to be counted for, against, or neutral, is it worth leaving a detailed comment? Yes. It is still worth to write the comment that says exactly how you feel and why. What I would say best practice would be, if you have the time, to then also send that in an email to your senator or to senators on that committee. That would be a great thing to do. If you don't have the chance to do that, that's okay. Just getting it in front of as many eyes as possible, I think, is always my think. I don't know, my brain was like my thinky way, my way of thinking, right? That's like, if I can get it in front of as many people through as many methods as I can. And that's why, copying and pasting, from the comment section to an email, that's pretty easy to do. What bill did we say was being heard on Tuesday? Yeah, that's the 374. Someone asked, is it better to send one email per bill, or can we send one email about many bills? I would say best is to send an email at all. So first and foremost, if you only have time to write one email, write one email. If you have time to write multiple emails, write the multiple emails. The senators and their staff are looking and reading and seeing what they say. But yes, like Abby said, it can make it a lot easier if you write one per topic and title, like your, use the about line to say, in support of LB 169, which is that non-discrimination bill. Just make it easy when they're going back and counting. Someone asked if hearings had already passed for a couple bills. No, the bills that we are following, none of the bills we are following have had hearings yet. Someone asks if there is a way to hear or watch these hearings live if we can't be there. Yes. On the Nebraska legislature website, in the bottom right corner, it will say like, watch the unicam roll, or like watch live. Nebraska Public Media films and live streams the proceedings of every day of the legislature. And they have an app. If you don't want to watch it on your computer, I watch it on my phone because I'm a nerd. You can get a phone app too. Someone asked, does Out Nebraska have a template letter for us to use? We have some examples on social media of what you can write. We always recommend that you write something yourself, even if it's one sentence. There are senators who will filter out copy pasted letters. So if you are using a template from another organization, it is possible that it will be filtered out of someone's email. So making your own unique email, even if it's literally one sentence that says, I don't like this bill, that is so, so important. And hopefully that also like reduces the pressure. Be quick, it can be easy. It's all right. Does your senator get comments left online even if they're not in the committee? They do have access to it. If you want to make sure your specific senator sees it, I would then email it or call them and read your comment to them. If you are someone who wants to make sure someone has listened to you, like I am sometimes, literally reading an email out loud over the phone is a perfectly fine thing to do. Let's see. We talked about, yes, please keep talking to your senator, even if they don't support the queer and trans community. They need to still hear from us. Someone asked about like, what's something really helpful to say to our senators? We have a sample like email up on our social media about, why to oppose the anti-trans bills. And one of the things we have said is like, especially for the bills that affect our young trans Nebraskans, would be to say like, young people deserve the ability to learn and grow, and that they deserve, the ability to make decisions with their families without politicians involved. There is if you want to look on our social media to that sample language, feel free to use that, use something similar. And truly, again, like just saying how you feel, that is always valuable. Someone recommended that if you feel like it, you can use, there's a little program called GPT to just help you like think about things you could say. It just kind of generates some like responses to prompts. Yeah, you should always write your own email to your senators, but it can help you if you're like really strapped for like, I don't know what to say. I'm still scrolling all the way back. I know we've gotten so many great comments and questions. I've got like a ton of messages I'm still scrolling through. Yes, I love someone said that they'll be writing to their senator, but also forwarding emails as a template for friends and families to use. That's great. Yeah, make it easier for your friends to also take action with you. Someone asked if there's other ways to make sure that we get the date and times of these hearings. If you Google Nebraska bill tracker, you can track bills yourself and follow along and get those alerts sent to your email as well. And yeah, like Johnny said, we will keep posting and keep pinging people via email when things happen. Someone asked, I'm going to school here in Nebraska, but I'm registered to vote in another state. Can I still contact senators? Yes, you still live here. They still represent you, even if you are voting in another state. So yeah, students, if you're here for school, you're at UNL, UNK, Creighton, whatever, you live here right now, email them. You also don't need to tell them that you're technically registered to vote in another state. You can just say, hey, I live here in Lincoln, or I live here in Kearney, or I live here in Omaha, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, and someone also added in, so that question about I'm a student, can I still write in? Someone also added in, it might also be helpful to tell the senators how the passage of these bills would affect the possibility of her, being the student who is asking the question, staying here. Yeah, talk about how it affects you, how it affects you now, how it will affect you in the future. Yeah, lots of people being like, yes, yes, be involved. Thank you everyone for cheering each other on in the comments. Someone asked if there is a group called the Nebraska Legislature Study Group who has been recording the live streams. If they're saving past sessions and hearings for later viewing. I'm familiar with that group, just like tangentially through Facebook. I believe that's their purpose. Hopefully the Nebraska legislature will change their rules and will post things to an archive, but we can only hope right now. But yeah, there are some groups that are recording the live streams. So you do your research and look around to see who might be doing that sort of work. I know people are starting to have to hop off. I'm trying to make sure we've caught all of our really good questions. Thank you all for your support also. We appreciate that you were able to be here. Yes, someone asked, is Nebraska Public Media where you can go watch the sessions, or is that the app I watch? Yes. It's the logo is blue, I believe. Or it might be black. Oh no. But yes, it's called Nebraska Public Media. And a lot of people are just saying, yeah, action right now is more important than ever. Thank you. Thank you. Blue. Yes, thank you. It's blue. Someone else looked at their phone to find what the app looked like. Thank you. Okay. It's about, I mean, it's not about, it is 1 p.m. We want to be respectful of all of your time. So we're going to wrap up now and say thank you again, everyone, for joining us for this kind of lunch and learn about some Nebraska policy that is affecting our LGBTQ community. Thank you so much for your support about Nebraska and for being here. Again, one takeaway, one thing, go call your senator. Go send them an email, go leave them a 5-second voicemail. Go on. Yes, go fight, win. Someone said in the comment. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So this is kind of the end. So please be free. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, everybody. And then I'm going to hang up. Goodbye, everyone.